Convening the April 4th, 2023, 2 p.m. meeting to order at 3:10 p.m. And with no further business, we'll adjourn that meeting at 3:10 p.m. And now we will call the Waco City Council meeting on April 4th, 2023 to order at 3:10 p.m. Sorry we're running a few minutes late. Please join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. We provide an opportunity for the public to address the City Council on any agenda item or during the hearing of visitors portion of the agenda. On items other than public hearings, speakers will be allotted 1 3-minute presentation, regardless of the number of agenda items the speaker wishes to address. If you're here to speak and have not filled out a registration card, please see the City Secretary staff at the registration table outside of the auditorium to provide registration information so that staff can contact you if necessary. If you have handouts, please let us know at the beginning of your presentation and staff will distribute those to council. If you're unable to approach the podium due to physical limitations, a microphone is available to be brought to you. Is there anyone present who would like to speak on a work session item? Seeing no one is registered to speak, we will now recess the regular session and convene to work session with a report of our city manager.
Thanks, Mayor and Council. Welcome to the public today. We've got a great work session that hopefully will be very informative this afternoon. I'll be pretty brief in the run-through, or in the overview today, since we do have several work sessions. I wanted to start, though, with a recognition of an employee who I didn't know was going to be in the audience, but she is here, and I did want to recognize her. Many of you know Megan Davis, who does just an outstanding job on our outdoor events as a rock star. Really, she serves as our special events team leader and does a lot of things in Parks and Recreation. And recently, she helped me and served as the leader of our response team and planning team for the visit by former President Trump. And that was not something we necessarily signed up for, but it was an opportunity for us to have an event. And Megan just did an outstanding job of corralling a whole lot of things, and just real proud of her and wanted to recognize her work because it was really meaningful to the community. And it was also her birthday yesterday, so I wanted to say happy birthday. I'm not gonna sing, but I would love to give her a round of applause for what she did. We do have 2 informal reports on the agenda today. The first one is IR 223, which is an update on the Lions Park redevelopment project. Includes a background or history on our involvement on that site, as well as the next steps. The council recently approved a design consultant contract, actually in December of 2022, with a group called OJB Landscape Architecture. The kind of the first phase of their work is to get out and have 4 public meetings, which are going to start later in April. So you'll be seeing more about that between April and July, after which we'll start to bring you, as the council, final concept and estimates on costs and phasing. We're pretty excited as a staff to be working on this project, and I know the council will be interested to see the next steps later this year.
I just want to commend staff really quick. This is a project that, from the word go, really has worked to engage the public and make sure that this is a project that will be directed largely by the public. We know that this is a park that, of all the parks in Waco, every park in Waco has some element of nostalgia and some element of care, but of all the parks, especially for people who grew up in this community, I have seen people show deep emotion over the future of this park, and we are excited to really partner with our community in the visioning process, as well as getting this park constructed. And so this is going to be a team effort for our whole city, and I look forward to seeing that process through.
Thanks, Mayor.
Holmes here. I was just going to add I'm sorry to go after you, Mayor, but
No.
Yeah, on pages 10 and 11, and I guess 12, you can see, to echo what both Bradley and Dylan have said, a very transparent process. And you can see the public meetings in April, May, June, and July, where we want to get the feedback on what the vision for this iteration of Lions Park will do for the community. And also, just the cleanup. As people drive by there, I think we can at least see the green space, and we have used our resources to make that a clean and safe area over there. And I think an area where we can maybe imagine what the next iteration looks like. So I think, great job of getting it to this point. I like the fact that we have OJB in there and running this very public process of what do we want this next phase to look like.
Thanks, Mayor and Council, for those comments. We do not have any public hearings today, surprisingly.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Because I was going to say something about the other IR.
Oh, goodness, yes, our health equity IR. Go ahead. I did not cover that. Thank you.
I just wanted to thank Director Mallory Horn for providing this information and update about our health equity study. One of the things that we realize is the health district truly touches every community, and we want to make sure, and it was pivotal that we made sure that the health district's employees had a functioning understanding of equity and how we may perceive individual groups, our personal biases, all of those things, and to have a discussion about how that happens in relation to public health, because health outcomes are what make or break a city. We can't have a healthy city without healthy residents. And I think this gave an opportunity not only for our employees to see that, but the commitment to addressing health outcomes, those that are especially harder hit in certain communities, and pre-existing conditions that happen, and how we address the health of all of our neighbors, because that literally is their life or death. And if nothing else showed us that in our face, it was COVID. And how Black and brown communities were affected in a higher and disproportionately higher rate. And so that our health district is committed to equity, racial equity, and looking at it from that perspective, from for health outcomes is important to us, and we appreciate all the work that has gone in it. I look forward to seeing the work that will come from it. And as we do our community health assessment, how we look at those in deep dives, I look forward to partnering with our other city communities in the county and walking this line with us, because as we, again, have healthier communities, we have a healthier city. So thank you.
I just agree with that. This is really great quality, important work. So thanks to our entire team.
All right, Mayor, I do, as mentioned, no public hearings on the agenda today. We have 18 resolutions, and I'm going to highlight just one of those, although there are 17 other great resolutions on the agenda. The highlight is on Resolution 238, which is the agreement with Grassroots Community Development for the development and construction of 26 homes on about 3 acres of property at the old Sanger Avenue school site along the 17th and 18th Street corridor. The $334,000 of funding that's in this agreement would be used to construct utilities, sidewalks, curbs, and gutters around the site, as well as support the new construction. This, of course, will be an initiative that we're putting in front of you to support our strategic housing plan, which has goals of including mixed income housing developments, particularly in the core of Waco. So bring that forward today, and I think Mike Stone from Grassroots is here as well. So Mike, thanks for your effort on this project.
It has been a long time coming, and we're really excited to see it on a council agenda today. I can't remember, I know it was covered in the newspaper, but I don't know if the master plan of this was covered or not, but the design of this space and the thoughtfulness around both the utilization of public spaces and the design standards for the homes, I think is going to be really excellent. And I remember years ago when this neighborhood was engaging in a public discourse on what they want at this location. This is exactly what they wanted. And so again, another example of really listening to the community, hearing them out, and then delivering on a great project, even if it's taken a bit longer than we would have liked. But this is going to be a really great project. And Mike, you don't have to come to the front, but when we talked earlier last week, my understanding is that these timelines that are in the packet are not mandatory. You can go faster than that, and we'll try to go faster than that, and if homes sell faster than that, you plan to go faster than that. Is that the understanding? Thank you.
Holmes over here, I had one other comment on this one, because this is the Sanger Heights, or the Sanger High School project we've been talking about, as Dylan said, for some time, and just the final form of what we're looking at is really not, and anybody who is looking at the package is on page 140 of the package. You can see what we're doing here. And if you'll excuse the pun, we're killing a lot of birds with one stone, Mike Stone, I think, on this. Because I appreciate your group jumping in and getting this going. Grassroots are a very important part of the community. Affordable housing, just a neat project, and a part of the city where we have the infrastructure kind of around there, and it's a great place to be putting houses. So I will echo the mayor's appreciation of this project.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to a different one too. I guess every time I see this in the resolutions, I want to cheer. But back to 237, or item number 3 on We All Win, where we identified 4 or 5 more, I guess 4 more small businesses that we are helping out, and just excited about this project as funded with basically ARPA funds, federal funds, but we're helping local businesses out, which is a great program. We All Win is what we call it, WAW. So, and you can see the groups that have been awarded, and I think, if I understand it, there's a lot of applications for this, and there's, I think we had 3 to 5 million ready to go here, so they're big dollars that are going out too. So I appreciate staff managing that program.
Yeah, thanks, Councilmember. We do, I know Galen Price and his team have been hustling that process, and I think plus or minus $10 million of requests.
Yep.
What is it, Galen? Something like that? And not quite that much funding. So they're really working through those applications and trying to support small businesses, and it is exciting to see that many on the agenda today. We have 4 ordinances on the agenda today for you today, Council, and they're all on second reading, I believe, right? Yes. So you've got some reading to do later. Mayor and Council, that concludes my report for today, but I'll take any questions you might have of me.
Any questions? All right. The consent agenda includes resolutions 2023-235 through 352. Are there any items the council would like to remove from the consent agenda? In that case, the consent agenda includes 2023-235 through 252, except for 244, because Councilmember Bordered has filed an affidavit of substantial interest on this item. The next item on the agenda are work session items 2023-225 through 228. Bradley, would you please introduce the first work session?
Sure, Mayor. Our first work session, 225, is a discussion and updates on Cameron Park Zoo projects, spring break highlights, the cafe and coffee shop, as well as an update on the zoo director recruitment process. I'm bringing up Derek Altman, our facilities director, Dwayne Hills, serving as our zoo director, and as well as Lisa Blackman, our assistant city manager. I'm excited for this presentation because I think there has been some real positive momentum starting to develop at the Cameron Park Zoo, and certainly we had thousands of guests over spring break at the zoo, enjoying just a phenomenal asset to our community. I'm also excited because we have some guests in the audience from our society, and really appreciate Nancy and the team getting here today, and appreciate their time and resources as we look to move forward in our relationship. So, Lisa, are you taking it from the start, or is Derek?
Derek is starting.
All right, Derek's up first. I think, is this all 3 of you, your first presentation to council? I think it is. So just like do a little shake, do a little shake.
Shake it off.
It's going to be fun and exciting, bring good information, and I know the council's going to appreciate it. Derek.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Derek Altman, Interim Director of Facilities. We're going to be updating you today on the bond projects, giving a construction update on the Education Center and Veterinary Hospital, and the penguin exhibit construction at the zoo, as well as the first quarter and spring break highlights, the cafe and coffee shop update, and the zoo director recruitment process. The first update is going to be on the construction projects, and the first project is the much anticipated new exhibit featuring the African penguins. This exhibit will include a large exterior pool where guests can catch a view of the penguins from both above and below the water. Generous viewing opportunities are available throughout the exhibit. In addition to underwater viewing, the exhibit's theming will be similar to that of the penguin's natural habitat above the water. Additional spaces are available to view the penguins when they are kept inside, and the outside exhibit is otherwise unavailable due to weather or maintenance. African penguins were selected for this project because the climate of their natural habitat is similar to that of Texas, and they are currently listed as endangered by the International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. The penguin exhibit project has several alternates included in the design. Shown here is the base penguin exhibit structure, a visitor plaza, a family restroom and vending kiosk, and a black-footed cat exhibit. The second ongoing project is the construction of the new education center and veterinary hospital near the front entry of the zoo. This project is comprised of two separate areas within the structure, as visible here in the split-level design. The front public-facing building is the education center, featuring 4 multi-purpose classrooms designed for the zoo's existing educational programs and summer camps. The space within this area was designed with maximum flexibility in mind. This area can be modularly configured, allowing the space to open up and be combined to serve as event space for the zoo and private functions alike. This education center will also contain the animal ambassador housing facilities, providing accommodations for current and future animals, as well as staff offices and building support spaces, which will be located within this area. The second area of the project contains the new veterinary hospital and vet staff offices. The new hospital will house surgery and treatment rooms, which will provide state-of-the-art spaces to care for all animal types. Flexible animal holding rooms will provide curated spaces for animals to rest and recover after treatment. A ceremony was held on the cool morning of December 22nd, 2022, where city and county officials, along with members of the Zoological Society and the general public, were invited to come celebrate the kickoff of these projects. Notice to proceed was issued on the penguin exhibit, and construction crews immediately began mobilizing the site. Major site construction activities later began after the holiday. Temporary site utilities and facilities have been set up, and all initial grading operations are complete. Final design of the project is complete, and utility installation is starting now. Site work began on the project prior to the final completion of the drawings to ensure the expedited delivery of the exhibit. This phased approach was made possible by Council's authorization and use of the construction manager at-risk delivery method. This contract type permits the city to select the contractor immediately following selection of the architect and places a member of the construction team on the design team, providing advantages such as real-time constructability reviews, change impacts, and phasing opportunities. Utility and foundation preparation is expected to continue through June of 2023, and visitors can expect to see vertical construction of the facility start around July of 2023. Construction documents are complete, and all design reviews and permits on the penguin exhibit have been issued. Development of the final guaranteed maximum price for the construction manager at risk is now underway. To date, a guaranteed maximum price of $897,000 has been issued for the civil and site work, and approximately $1.1 million has been committed on design, testing, and engineering. Earthwork is currently ongoing at the Education Vet Center. Concrete foundations for each structure are expected to begin soon, and utility work should commence in May of 2023. As this project is near the parking area and entrance, visitors to the zoo have the unique opportunity to see the investment we are making into the facility and the ongoing progress of this project when they first arrive. The contractor will first begin preparing the foundations for the education center before moving to the vet hospital to accommodate the split-level design. Once veterinary hospital foundations are in place, the sequence of work will reverse to ensure the vet hospital is given priority. This is important to ensure the vet hospital or the vet facilities are available for the penguins when the exhibit is ready. Vertical construction is estimated to begin in late July or early August of 2023, and building enclosure and roofing is expected to continue into early next year. The project is currently within the most recently presented construction budget of $16.8 million that was presented at the time of construction award. Both projects are being constructed concurrently and will follow a similar phase of construction throughout their completion. Both are expected to be ready for the summer season of 2024. I appreciate your time and the opportunity to review these exciting projects, and would like to introduce Dwayne Hills, who will provide some further highlights from the zoo.
Thank you and good afternoon. I will highlight the zoo's performance with a Q2 breakdown over the last 5 years, and I'll speak briefly about more exciting things happening at the zoo. Taking a look at the attendance in Q2 beginning in 2019, we see numbers exceed pre-COVID attendance, with this year's attendance reaching about 96,256 people. Looking at the zoo year-to-date revenue for the same period in Q2 for the fiscal years beginning in 2019 up to year-to-date of 2023, the revenue for this year is $993,519, which is nearly $50,000 more than the previous year. Following the trend, nearly 2/3 of the revenue comes from admissions, followed by retail merchandise, and then food and beverage. So we can see that trend happening over the 5-year period. Breaking down zoo spring break year to year spend per person, in spring break of 2023, the spend per person was up 23.08% over 2021. Looking at that also for spring break 2023 over 2022, we're seeing an increase of 17.65%. So again, we're looking at some increase over there for spend per person. Coming up with the cafe and coffee shop, we did have a soft opening for spring break to add to the guest experience and also have another stream to generate revenue. Coming up, we'll have name selection and then identify a logo. It will be finalized prior to the grand opening. Ribbon cutting and the grand opening will be in early May of this year. So right now, menu items include assorted coffee, drinks, and food items. We are offering our own coffee blend, finalizing the branding and logo. We will package it for sale, and in the whole bean version or in ground, we are able to do that. The cafe and coffee shop has a fully functioning kitchen and offers outdoor seating for enjoyment. And what you see here is just kind of what you see in the full-service kitchen, as well as what the main lobby looks like as you're walking in, and just looking at the different food prep areas of the cafe and coffee shop. Some plans coming up. We're looking at expanding menu items. Right now, we have a limited menu selection. We wanted to make sure that we have some basic items that we can offer, but we are looking at solidifying and finalizing, and expanding those menu items very soon. Right now, we're looking at serving non-admission guests, so we have guests coming in through the gate, but looking at future plans, we want to expand that into what I call non-admission guests. So if you want to come to the zoo and just have a cup of coffee or some of the food items, you don't have to actually have admission. You can actually be served by coming in through the gate, going to the coffee shop, and being redirected out of the zoo. So we wanted to capture in that audience, that guest population who didn't want to come visit, but just wanted some of the food and beverages there. Also moving forward with online ordering. We want to integrate a new point of sale system and inventory tracking system. We want to also include meal options for schools and groups that can be available so that they can reduce the need to bring in outside food and beverage. Also adding an additional custom coffee blend for sale in addition to our current coffee blend. In addition to the happenings on the guest experience front, we are excited to welcome one of the newest additions to the Cameron Park Zoo. Welcome to Kenai. Kenai is a black bear cub. Most black bears, the common variety comes in actually brown color, but Kenai is actually pretty black in color, the traditional look for a black bear. He arrived in the wee hours of March 2nd. He was found near Shistashina, Alaska, and so some natives saw him in the area without mom, and so they called Fish and Game in Alaska. The warden came out, observed for some time, and noticed that mom was nowhere to be found, so the warden walked up and took Kenai at that time. So he was taken to the Alaska Zoo, and who contacted us, along with Alaska Fish and Wildlife, to see if we had space here. And that's how Kenai started his journey here. So he enjoys playing in his pool. He has a few toys, including a tumbler toy that he's very interested in playing with. In fact, every time I walk by, he's hugging it for some odd reason. So he really loves engaging with that toy and splashing around in his pool. Some of his favorite treats include apricots, pineapples, berries, and he's been introduced to meat, and he's really taking a liking to meat at this point. So black bears are omnivorous, and so introducing that is right on time here. He's about 90 pounds when he arrived, and he hasn't gained significant weight, so he's still in the target range for where he needs to be. We're estimating he's about a year of age. And so they start leaving mom right around 16 to 18 months of age. And so he's right there on the target there. We like to highlight this story, number one, because it's a nice conservation piece, but then it also highlights the partnership that we have with other zoos and aquariums. And so this was made possible largely because of the strong work in Alaska, and we're just continuing on in his care there. All right. So we are excited to have Kenai here and look forward to him being out on exhibit fairly soon. At this time, I would like to pass it off to Lisa, who will continue to talk about some exciting things happening at the zoo and discuss the recruitment process.
Thank you so much, Dwayne. Okay, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you today. I will be providing a zoo director recruitment update, reviewing the Association of Zoos and Aquariums process, which we'll refer to as the AZA, what we have completed to date, and the work plan over the next 6 months. Upon receipt of Zoo Director Johnny Binder's retirement, we contacted our representatives at the AZA and notified them of the upcoming vacancy. The AZA provided the city with the requirements of a search process status report. The report was due on March 31st to them. We filed it with them on March 30th, and the second report will be due on September 30th of this year. Upon filling the position, a final report will be delivered. The first status report included an update of the interim director appointment. Deputy Director Dwayne Hills accepted the interim role and began that role on April 1st, just this last weekend, with the understanding that the zoo operations are very complex and uniquely specific, we looked into the AZA to realize how they could support our efforts through the recruitment process, and we've leaned on them for recommendations for search firm, process, and industry professional participation. This week, staff is meeting with 2 search firms that were highly recommended by the AZA to help us lead those recruitment efforts. The plan is to select a search firm this week and begin the contract process, resulting in launching the recruitment next month in early May. When the launch is kicked off, we will establish a zoo director stakeholder recruitment committee to include, but not limited to, zoo staff, society staff and board members, donors, city manager's office, and internal departments that would work with the director often, such as HR, city attorney, and finance. The committee will work with the recruitment firm to build that candidate profile and build the recruitment materials. This step will include definition of position profile and candidate discovery. Stakeholders will provide data and gain a shared understanding of the search together. The search committee will help identify the candidates that have the skills to excel and move forward in the process. The second half of the process will include an interview panel, or several of them. The panels will be intentionally built to include a zoo professional from a peer Texas zoo, as well as a society executive board member, along with members of the city manager's office. We expect to extend an offer to our top candidate, hopefully in October of this year, and we will allow flexibility on the start date to accommodate the needs of the candidate. So in summary, we are excited to say that we are currently on track for the Ed Vet and Penguin construction project to be completed early summer of '24. Our fiscal year Q2 emissions are up over previous years, specifically 2019, which is really exciting. Spring break revenue spend per person is up over last year by a little over 17%. And isn't the new black bear the cutest? We are super excited to welcome him to the family. New cafe and coffee shop, we hope to see you there after the ribbon cutting as a customer getting your best coffee beans in town. And lastly, our director recruitment is on track and consistent with AZA standards. And at this time, we'll take any questions that you may have.
Questions?
I'll jump in first, I guess. First of all, I'm going to echo Bradley. Nancy, Lacey, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate you and the society, and appreciate your commitment. The zoo wouldn't be here without you and the society. And I think us older people, there's not very many of us up here, but we can remember when the zoo was concrete cages out by the airport, and that was not cool.
I
And
remember.
we brought- Alice and I remember.
I remember as well.
But we brought it, the society and the city together, brought this thing to where it's a jewel for the city, and the community appreciates it, and the city appreciates it. But I just wanted to point that out. Thanks, Nancy. The report, great report, guys. The projects, I like the Gantt chart there on page 32. Where it's showing that we're going to have this thing open in September of next year, or I mean, summer of next year, I think, right?
Correct.
I mean, it's a nice little timeline we can all follow. The year-to-date numbers are looking great. I mean, they're improved over last year. It seems like we're kind of past the COVID stress, or the COVID maybe opened it up for some people that are coming back. But I like the metrics we're pulling out here on admissions and revenue. And I'm trying to flip back to the page. What do we call it? Customer spend, or what's the word? What's the $13? What's the?
The spend per person?
Yeah, you had a name for it, but I like that we're keeping track of that, because that's an important metric that we need to make sure we're improving with time. And the fourth thing that you brought up is just the new zoo director. It seems like we have a good timeline to get that done in October here in the next 6-8 months. It seems like things are pointing in the right direction here for us to have the penguins here, the veterinary hospital here, the education center here, and everybody going to visit the zoo. So I appreciate the report. Thanks.
I appreciate this report. This past summer, Johnny Bender took me on a personal behind-the-scenes tour. That was awesome, really awesome, and I enjoyed that tour. And I happened to have my grandson and granddaughter with me, and when we went to the shop there, I think I spent the 23% over the 2020. They had to have all those special toys and T-shirts and things, and they enjoyed the tour as well. And we got to feed the giraffe, and we got to touch the white rhino, and we went to the orangutan display as well. It was really a beautiful, beautiful tour, and I really think we have the most beautiful zoo in the world. But it was so amazing to me from when I remember the first zoo over there on the airport road with nothing but cages and the animals in there. And now we have this beautiful zoo. But thank you for this information to the three of you. It's really a good report, and thank you for that. And thank the Zoological Society for being here as well, to be here with us, and we appreciate what you do as well. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all being here tonight. I appreciate all the work y'all have done, city staff and society. Who is the construction manager on this project?
For the penguin exhibit, the construction manager at risk is Jacoby Brothers Construction.
Okay. And as I read Jim's famous Gantt chart, the projects are started, and they'll, assuming no or not too many weather delays, they should be finished about the same time.
That is correct.
And we'll be good to go. And there's some other things that haven't been approved, but they're under consideration. The funding is lined up, right?
Yes, that is correct, sir.
So as we stand, we have the funding committed and ready to go. So that is not an issue. And then I want to say that I really appreciate the idea on the search for the director including all the stakeholders, I think that is extremely important. It will pay big dividends for us. And I want to thank everybody for that and for the cooperation from this point and going forward. And so I love the zoo, and I think it is just a diamond for this, in the crown of this community, and it is worth everybody continuing to work hard to try to iron out any difficulties that there have been or may be. And I just thank everybody for that extra effort, and I know it's going to bear fruit. So thank you very much, and the zoo will continue to be a wonderful thing for this community.
Thanks, Derek, Dwayne, and Lisa, for the presentation. It's always good to see an update, and it's always good to see upticks in numbers, and that people are realizing, our neighbors, our residents, and folks from all over, how wonderful our facility is and how amazing our zoo is. My council members have said most of my comments, so I'll just end with, I really appreciate the non-admission guests having access to coffee. And I'm just gonna say that, I mean, because if you get a good blend, you get a good blend. We have our own capital, Monica, all the branding, all the things. You know, because that's major. I mean, I'm the one that goes to the movies just for popcorn. I don't want to see anything, but I want the popcorn. So I think that's important that people have that ability to swing in and swing out, because if it's good, it's good. And I like that out of the box thinking, because if I've come in for that once, I'm coming back. And I'm gonna say, you know what, I'm gonna bring X and such when I go this time. Or I really wanna see so-and-so. Or perhaps, you know, they really do this well. How can I get involved? How can I volunteer? These are absolute gateways to just immeasurable volunteer opportunities and experiences for our community. So thanks for thinking out of the box.
My family loves the zoo. We were there twice last week. The Unbound 5K was such an amazing event. Just the design of the zoo for hosting events like that is so amazing, and I just agree that this is something that's incredibly special, and I think everybody in this city agrees that this is something, that the zoo is something that's incredibly special. Again, thanks to the society for being here today. Your partnership is critical to us, and we're committed to it. Thank you to our staff for their dedication and their love of the zoo as well. The one note I have is that I know that the staff is pulling some dates together for a commission meeting, and I look forward to that getting set and on the books. And again, all of my questions have been asked and answered by everyone already. So we're really excited to see these projects move forward and get over the finish line. And glad to see them under construction, and can't wait to see some penguins here pretty soon.
Great. Mayor, if you'll oblige me, I want to make two comments. One, a little more about the black bear, because I think, well, it's obviously, it's adorable, of course, but you know, I want to give a shout out to Amanda Butler, our general curator. You know, the story that's not told there is that she traveled up to Alaska and had quite an adventure getting Kenai back to Texas.
Wow.
And you don't hear about those stories necessarily, but she spent well over 24 hours without sleep in transit getting Kenai back to Texas safely, and just really appreciative of what our staff does
absolutely.
to do these things, and it's worthy of public praise, I believe. And then secondly, to Councilmember Horner's question about having all the funds in hand, and Derek's response is correct, factually correct. We have issued a contract for the vet education center, $17.3 million. Of course, when we issue contracts, we've got to have all the money in hand, right? We have enough money for the Penguin Shores exhibit. There are ad alternates within the Penguin Shores exhibit, though, that we're going to come back to the Zoo Commission with an update on here in the next few weeks, that we are going to need to seek more funding for. If you'll remember, there were several ad alternates included. Will you go back to the drawing? It might help me illustrate some of this. Of course, there's a family restroom, there's a little retail sales area, there's a vending kiosk, and there's a visitor's plaza, and then in the top right, very nicely tucked in, is a black-footed cat exhibit. We just in the last couple of days have received some estimates on each of these components. And particularly interesting, of course, is that top right black-footed cat exhibit. Now, when we went to voters back in 2019, that wasn't necessarily a thought that we had about having a black-footed cat exhibit. It came up later, and that's looking like about a $2 million number to build the exhibit there. I think there's a path forward to do that, but when Derek answered your question earlier, council member, do we have all the money in hand? I wouldn't necessarily say we have all the money in hand for that cat exhibit at this point in time based on contract numbers that Derek received in the last few days. So we look forward to trying to solve that, the opportunity, because I really like how it's designed. I think it will feel odd if we don't move forward and complete each of those elements that's shown on this rendering. So just wanted to clear that up and make sure y'all knew kind of where we were headed.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, staff, thank y'all. All right, our next work session is 226, and it's a discussion of our proposed property development program involving the sale of city-owned and tax foreclosed lots. We've got both Galen Price, our Director of Community Services, as well as Clint Peters, Director of Development Services, to speak on this item. Galen?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Today we'll be updating you on the vacant property release plan and some proposed property packages. In this presentation, we'll give you some background, the proposed plan for release, the scoring criteria, as well as the different packages and next steps. Back in 2021, the interlocal agreement between the city, the county, and the Waco ISD was updated for the sale of property. Lots will be sold as is, where if there's a request for a survey, a title commitment, or title insurance, that will be done at the cost of the purchaser. This process has been an ongoing process and evaluation. There are several layers in this process. Lots are being reviewed by multiple departments, and weekly discussions and meetings are being held. Some lots may be withheld based on the need for utility easements, right-of-way, and drainage. With the limited number of properties that we have remaining in inventory, we want to be very strategic in how we develop these remaining properties. And so to ensure quality development moving forward, we've included some policy updates in the agreement with that goal in mind. These include a development agreement, which includes building standards and timeliness to accompany the sale of the properties. For example, the requirements would include a written plan, as well as a timeline within 180 days of purchase of the property, and construction being completed within 2 years after the purchase. Also, we're looking at some criteria for lots being sold in packages of 3 or more, where if we do have a package of 3 or more lots, one lot or 25% of the homes, whichever is greater, would be constructed for someone at 80% or below. One would be constructed for someone at 120% or below the area median income, and the remaining lot could be sold at a market rate. Now, for our community housing development organizations, those set-aside lots, the CHODOs will be required to build based on our current CHODO standards if CHODO funds are used for the construction on those lots. Scoring criteria would include a description of the proposed project, financial stability, the development timeline, of course, adherence to the instructions being given for the property sale, and then with properties, packages of 3 or more lots, it would be, include the evaluation of construction experience and history. Okay, and with that, I will turn it over to Clint, and he details some of the properties.
Okay, so we did want to show you where these lots are. We do have 42 lots that are buildable and ready to go, and then another approximately 50 lots that we'll be adding to these groups once easements are obtained, as Galen mentioned, for drainage, utilities, and right-of-way. Most of the lots are in North and East Waco. You can see on this map, and then I'll go into the individual groups that these will be released in. I didn't want to spend too much time on these, but we do have an inventory of all the lots, and some of these have been in our inventory since 1998. 35 of the 42 lots are tax foreclosure lots, with the other 7 being fee simple. And you can see we spend about $300 annually mowing these lots. For our group one, this is our largest group to date. Again, we'll be adding more lots to these, especially the later groups as we move along, as the easements are obtained. But this first group is in our Carver Neighborhood Association. We tried to group these by area, so there would be interest in these as people look to bid on these. So we do have 8 different packages, including 13 lots, and you can see there are some that have the 3 lots in them that will require 1 to meet the affordable standards. And then this first is Carver, which is bounded by J.J. Flewellen to Dallas, and then Herring over to the MKT trail. And then our group 2 is still in Carver, but it's further to the north. It's a smaller group, and this is bounded by MKT trail to Clifton, north of Waco Drive. And it just includes 4 properties right now. Again, we'll, as those lots come on board with the easements, we'll be adding to these. Our third group is in Northeast Riverside Neighborhood Association area, bounded from East Waco Drive to Elm, and then Garrison over to Hillsboro. And you can see it's a package, 7 different lots. Each one of these groups will be released about every 4 to 6 weeks to purchasing, so we'll always constantly have lots available over the next several months. Group 4 is moving over to North Waco. This is in Brook Oaks, an area bounded by Herring to the north and Bosque Boulevard to the south, and then from 4th to 7th Street. And you can see there we have 6 lots available in this group. And then Group 5 is in North Waco, mainly in Sanger Heights, again in Brook Oaks, and the North Waco Neighborhood Association, bounded from Waco Drive to Herring, and then 12th over to 25th Street. And then our final group is South Waco and downtown area, and Downtown Neighborhood Association and University Neighborhood Association. We have 4 lots there. And then these are the lots that Galen mentioned that are set aside for Chodo, and these are back over in Carver Neighborhood Association near Sealy and Clifton Avenue. I'm going to turn it back over to Galen to finish the presentation.
So regarding communication, of course, we'll be providing information on our website, posting on social media, the newspaper, providing the electronic distribution of the availability of these packages, and making sure that we get the word out so everyone has an opportunity to purchase if they so desire. Then according with the next steps, we're planning to release this first package in April of this month, and then ongoing packages will be released in probably every 90 days going forward after the first one. So, and with that, we will answer any questions that you may have.
Questions?
Holmes here, I've got one, just a quick comment. Great presentation, Galen and Clint. I remember when I first got on council 5 or 6 years ago, we had all these extra lots in the city. We were trying to get rid of them because this was before inflation and everything and before the real estate run. But we were trying to get these lots back on the payroll because they weren't generating any money, all the tax foreclosed lots. So, and it was costing us money to maintain them as well. And now we're thoughtfully, and I think at that time we just kind of said, let's get these off. But I like this way, we're a little more thoughtful about how we're putting these out. There's probably more value, or definitely more value now than there was 5 and 6 years ago. But I like the way we're thinking about it. We're basically encouraging immediate development or immediate, relatively immediate building and getting homes on these lots as quickly as we can, which I think is great. And at the same time, and I hadn't thought about some of these safeguards you put in, which are great, like giving the city a right of first refusal to take that property back if there is no building on there after 2 years, which is brilliant. And getting development agreements as soon as possible from these, just to eliminate kind of spec buyers that are out there to buy it on the inflationary value of the lot. We want people to buy these and build immediately. And I kind of like the way you're thinking about different areas too, where we already have the infrastructure, kind of a little bit like Mike, the Stone, the grassroots project, where we want to take advantage of the infrastructure and the roads and the water resource, the infrastructure we already have there, which is a reason to build more urban. And we're putting an element of affordable housing in these also. So I like how we've gone through a very thoughtful process here, and I like the direction it's going. And Deputy City Manager, I know that you were very helpful in getting information together on this project too, which I am very supportive of. A couple of quick questions. I know that one of the elements that we had the last time we kind of had downtown or more urban housing were the design. And did you talk about that? Did I miss talking about that? There will be design standards too that will try to meet neighborhood by neighborhood kind of. Well,
Yes, there will be design standards, and it'll be based on our current design standards. Depending on the neighborhood, it would determine what gets developed and what's conducive to what's in
And
there.
isn't that part of the scoring criteria too? Is that how well designed it is? Even that might, I mean, forgive me if my interpretation of that was that if there's, if you're scoring it out, someone trying to get a lot that has a better design for their property is going to be more likely to get it as a part of the the factors being weighed in.
I mean, that's the way and I'm
thanks.
glad you said it because it was in my notes as well, about, avoiding bad development, because we had a run and had to make some adjustments in building standards to avoid that, and so that we can ensure that our residents are getting the best possible option for housing options that they can, regardless of what the level of affordability is. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I was sure going to ask.
The only thing I have on this, I think this is great, but Bradley, I wanted to, well, maybe you, Clint, wanted to ask you about 708 South 10th. Is that anywhere close to, or maybe Jonathan can answer this, to Cotton Palace Park? 708 South 10th. Is it any close to the Cotton Palace ball field and park that we're building? This map I have here in my book is way too small. I can't picture it.
Yeah, it's probably about 3 blocks. Here's Cotton Palace Park, and then here's that lot, so it's about 3 blocks away.
This that says downtown is Cotton Palace Park?
Yeah, so that downtown is the neighborhood association.
Okay.
The white line is the boundary for the neighborhood association, so that downtown is indicating the name of the neighborhood association.
Okay. Because when we went to a neighborhood meeting, some of the folks there were complaining about Cotton Palace Park was buying up all the homes around there. And one of them was on South 10th, and I thought, that's too far from Cotton Palace. But is this 708, I don't want to make a liar out of myself at a meeting, but she was on South 10th. She lived on South 10th, and she said we were going to take her house.
No, this is a lot that's been in our inventory for quite some time. So these are all lots that are already in the inventory. We don't plan to buy any additional for this program.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I was just wanting to make sure I didn't misinform a constituent. Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for this presentation. I appreciate the thoughtfulness of this work. I know that we have been kind of running through city's inventory of lots for a while now. I'm most appreciative of the transparency in it and detailed description of how we will be doing this. For clarity, you said that lots may be withheld for easements and things. What kind of notice will be given in that?
Well, as we work through them, as staff works through them with the different departments, we will notify, and actually, there will be, at some point, we will have kind of a map that's available to show what's available and what isn't available, based on what's conducive for development and what needs to be kept for easement.
And the package, the package properties are what you have identified as already. It's not like some of the singles will be looped into a package later. Is that correct?
Correct. What we have presented today is those
how-
that, is how they would be.
And I know that they're going through a process, a purchasing process, but at the end but it's not an auction, correct?
No, we're working with the different, depending on the potential avenues for property to be sold, we're researching that and coming up with the best way that's conducive for that to be done.
Okay.
Councilmember Bearfield, if I may, I'm sorry to break in. The different property packages, we have to comply with state law on how you sell property, and you know that because you've been on the council for a very long time. And so there's going to be different exceptions and rules we use for the different packages. And so to your questions and to the mayor's earlier question, obviously, any way we sell them are going to have to comply with state law. And so our ability to do a variety of things regarding certain packages may depend on what rules we're using. So whether or not we can consider design will depend on how we're selling them. Now, obviously, when you go out for any of these packages, you can always reject all bids if you don't like what's being put forward. Okay. So I hope that helps a little bit.
It does indeed. Thank you. I will echo my fellow council in the deliberateness of the timing requirements on these properties. We have seen for a very long time folks buy stuff and sit on it, and it just continues to blight communities and neighborhoods when we have clearly said in all of our statements every time we are housing deficient. And so hopefully this will be an opportunity to put houses in neighborhood that our communities, can afford to live in, and that our residences can build and better their communities in what it is. Because if you've just got a vacant lot, then you have an opportunity for a whole lot of foolishness. Or just blight, or just, being abandoned. And I think that it's like having an empty house will collapse on itself because there's no air. And I think that an empty and vacant community will collapse because there's no air. And this is a great opportunity to just infuse our neighborhoods, to build our neighborhoods, strengthen our already strong and established neighborhoods, but just breathe a little bit of life in them, and I think that will be helpful. I want to suggest that, I know you've had, I'm the over-communicator, and you've listed the ways that that the information will be given. I want to make sure that in addition to that, as much as you can to the how this is going to work, be put in and made available for our residents, because I think that if, we don't want to just, oh, well, they gonna sell the houses to whoever they wanna sell. No, that's not what we're doing. We want to express the opportunity for our community to be able to buy and live and build in their community. So I want to make sure that how the process is as evident and as clear as the prominent for sale sign that will be on the property. And thank you.
Let me ask one more question, Clinton, if I may, along with what Councilmember Barfield has asked. Like if just a resident wants to buy one lot, they still have to come in with all these development plan, construction timeline, and all this other, if they just want to buy one lot, not three, but one.
That's correct, yep.
Okay, I was just wondering if that's going to turn off a lot of folks. Just my thought.
One question, how long do you anticipate this will take to sell all these lots?
I would imagine it would be, that program would be at least a year as we go through all the properties. Because we'll be adding more lots to these as we get the easements on the lots that need them, so I would think it would be a good part of the year.
That'd be great. That really would be wonderful.
I'll just wrap up. Great comments. I think that, we are in a housing shortage right now. We're trying to get supply in the market to be responsive to our housing study, and this is certainly a great strategy to build quality housing stock in our community and help revitalize neighborhoods. And I think the strategies that will be deployed in this policy is certainly going to help build neighborhoods for the good, partner with community, and increase affordable housing stock. So thanks to the work that's been done, and we look forward to getting these houses constructed.
Yeah.
And before you leave, quick question. So the spaces that were designated for our chotos, is that it for the chotos, or do they have access to the other lots as well?
No, they have access to the other lots as well. Those lots are just Choto specific.
Okay.
So those would just, that package would just be labeled as Chotos, but they are open to bid on any other package as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Galen. Thanks, Clint. All right, council, our next work session is work session 227, which is an update from Jonathan Cook, our Director of Parks and Recreation. He'll be providing us an update on the Doris Miller Community Center. Been a lot of outstanding work and improvements at the center over the last few months. You'll see some imagery of that, and then he'll be seeking your input on what to do on the outdoor recreation pool side of the facility. He'll be presenting some options to you towards the end of the presentation. We'd love your feedback on each of those. Jonathan?
Yeah, thank you, Bradley, and thank you, Mayor and Council, for opportunity for another update in regards to our status, where we're at on Doris Miller Community Center. And before I get started, I do want to take a quick second. As this project has evolved and we have ideas of maybe this will work, maybe this will work, I want to recognize a couple staff members here today. And that's Juliet Jones, our longtime community center supervisor at Bledsoe Miller, who's going to be taking over those operations and transitioning over to Doris Miller, and then Susan Krause, our program manager. And as we've gotten to this phase of the project, they've just been instrumental in saying operationally, now this is how our community centers work. This is what our kids need. This is what our community needs. So very appreciative that they're here for Day of their Sport. And then I do also want to give kudos as we get into our project to our facilities team, and Derek Altman and Tom Alston have just done an outstanding job without a general contractor, taking on a lot of this stuff and projects to really get this building looking mighty fine, I might say so myself. So renovation update, as you recall, we did initially purchase this building, community center, at $2.7 million and established a $2.9 million renovation budget. Over the course of over a year now, we have allocated nearly $2 million in renovation expenses to date. mainly looking and focusing on the inside condition of that building. And I've got a long list of different items we have addressed. Obviously, the HVAC system we're going to talk about a little bit here, but just everything from floors to roof to overall cleaning and finishings. It's been a task of really a fixer-up project here at Doris Miller. Want to give you some examples of some of the work we're really proud of, some of those visible items. Obviously, you can't see a roof. You can see where it's not flooding anymore, but this is one of my favorite shots and showing how bright natural light and bright colors really bring a facility to life. And so you notice the dark tint of the flooring on the gym on the left-hand side, and how we have a lighter shade of that gym floor that really pops with that flying W in the middle. A complete clean and scrub of the walls. This is going to be a great facility for future games and basketball leagues and tournaments that we have. Has the ability with some bleachers to host that. So we're proud of how the gym has come along. Another thing on the gym, also configured obviously to break out into practice courts. You see multiple free throw lines. Also has volleyball lines painted on it, and then even 4 square balls. So you have different activities going on, and so you create a multi-flex use as opposed to just basketball.
The gym looks great. I love the flying W in the center. Hardwood looks great. I like that being kind of in part of our tool belt there in terms, or not our tool belt, but just in kind of our facilities that our rec leagues can use and other events. So, man, y'all are doing great work on the basketball. I haven't just come off a rec league season.
It's one of those, and staff will probably say, we've been telling you we should do that for years, but I don't know why we haven't done that in other projects with some branding, as we like to talk about. So it lends itself to that opportunity. And as we move along with this facility, I'll say, we are incorporating the help of some local artists and our staff to really add those pops of color and local flavor with some quotes in the workout areas. So we're excited how that's progressing.
That's great.
Take a look just at some basic hallways, really walls and flooring. As we've talked about, all the walls have been repainted. We've gone from that early 2000s beige color to where it's now a white gray feel on the walls. And then you see the different style of tiling from the left-hand side to more epoxy flooring that we have in our other community centers. The maintenance is going to be a lot better. And so really provides a pop of that right pictures where you're walking into the front entrance as well. And a couple more, just wanted to show some of the complementary flooring that we have. We do have some wood laminate flooring that has gone in different areas, some of the meeting rooms, and then we have some carpeted areas as well. And then want to show we've also come in on the carpentry. All the cabinets and countertops have been redone, new colors to complement this color scheme as well. And then finally, one of the bigger projects we had to address immediately, not only just from the leaks in the roof, but also the air conditioning and condensation. We had to completely replace all the ceiling tiles. Facilities department came in, and you would never imagine, you look up and when you see stains on the ceiling, that's just an immediate first impression. So the facility does have all new ceiling tiles as well. Now looking ahead, as we get, to the fourth quarter of the project here, there are a couple things we've got to wrap up over the next couple months and working intently on. We've got to get some connections on the flooring. The contractor's wrapping up that work. We're starting the installation of all the information technology systems, AV and communications. Obviously is very important. This is a community hub to where people can access computers, but even with our kids and after school mentoring and tutoring programs, so much of their work they have to do is on the computer. And so the community centers is very important to be, have these resources, and also for public meetings as well, to where the community is able to use those screens and projectors and things of that. We're going to be having furniture delivered here in the next couple weeks. Front desk installation to really jazz that up, a lot of the touches, and then looking at that transition of starting to move a lot of our equipment and functional items from the Bledsoe Miller Community Center over to Doris. Looking in June, July, and beyond, it's that official move and the projections for summer programming. I've talked to you before, obviously, we are fully have intentions of having summer camps in that building, and we're working towards that right now as we've started some registration. Obviously, we've got some flexibility and some contingency in place. If we needed to stay at Bledsoe for a time, we could as we're wrapping up the project, because we do want to make sure everything is safe and secure. And so those cameras and security access, we've got some supply issues. We're making sure those are getting ordered and able to be installed. Exterior doors is another thing that's on order as well. We want to make sure, obviously, the doors are locking, cameras in place before we start operations. And then, as I'm going to talk about here at the end of the presentation, we have work to be done on the indoor and outdoor pool. That would not prevent us from operating on the interior of the facility and starting up program. One of the challenges that we are facing right now that I wanted to make sure to bring the attention is it's been known for quite some time and it's on schedule, but we do have some of the chillers for the HVAC unit that are on back order. We are expecting arrival of those chillers at the end of the summer. And so currently the AC is not at full capacity. It is scheduled for delivery. So what we've done in Derrick with facilities, we have contracted out some work to be done to repair the current chillers that are in place. We do have hopes that the building is going to cool to where it is suitable for summer camps, but I will say there are some concerns and challenges that we're monitoring. I normally don't say I want temperature days of 95 plus, but we would like a couple stretch of days just to make sure before the summer starts that AC is cooling properly. Moving ahead to the pools, the last time I was able to visit with y'all, I announced that we had entered in a contract with KAI Design, and once again, they work closely with a pool consultant, Councilman Hunsaker, who's well known throughout the state of Texas and working on municipality aquatic facilities. And they've come in to provide assessments and consulting. We actually have received 2 assessments from them. The first dealing, this is just for the indoor pool, but the first looked at the mechanical and the safety aspects. And that report has come back of $300,000 to $400,000 are needed on that indoor pool. A little bit, you know, that water, it remains blue. We're treating it. The pumps are working. However, I'm going to talk on the pump. A lot of that money is replacing that pump system. It has not been replaced since it was constructed in around 2005. So that's really the cost of getting the chemical and the pump system up to speed. Then we've also gotten an assessment on the building. As you know, we have insulation falling in and quite a bit of good corrosion on the metal beams throughout the building, and we've been given an estimate of $400,000 to $500,000 are needed in building repairs. That's a chunk of change at about an estimated $900,000 to get the indoor pool ready, which we had hoped that we were going to be able to get it done very quickly since the water looked good and get some swim lessons going. The good news of this, however, we do have that money currently remaining. If you remember the first slide, I said we've allocated almost up to $2 million of the $2.9 million budget. So we do have that covered. Now, that is going to take away an impact on some outdoor amenity money. And specifically, I wanted to mention we were hoping to spend some of that money for a playground replacement. The playground is operational and open to the public right now, being utilized. However, it is an aging playground with some surfacing issues and some cover issues. So we're going to get creative to see how we can perhaps address that in another way.
So on that one, let me interrupt you just for a second, Jonathan. So on that one, you're saying, go back to that previous slide.
Sure thing.
That we would have to do an estimated 900,000 just to get this done. That's over and above the current budget.
Yeah.
No, this one's already included in the budget, correct?
This is included in the current, but we do have the funding for this to get the indoor pool complete.
Okay, good, thanks. All right.
So just to recap on the indoor pool assessment and getting a visual from the other side of it, our consultants do not recommend use for public use or utilizing for public use right now. A couple factors there is flaking of metal flakes falling into the pool, and then the age of the chemical system. Once we were to get occupancy in there and using it, there are some worries about whether that system would sustain. So our next steps is obviously bidding out this work, getting the equipment ordered. And so in reporting, as I mentioned, it is a delayed opening from what we had really hoped for on that indoor pool. And we'll be working on that to get that in process and get this thing ready to go as soon as possible. Items that will be addressed in those bids are the pump system installation. Ask about the rust, and what that's from is from improper ventilation. Some of the fans are not working, the heaters are not working, so you just have a lot of airflows not taking place, and those chemicals are just eating the building from the inside out. There's also a walkway that connects the indoor pool building to the main building. Currently, there are no bathhouses or changing areas in the indoor pool building, and so guests have to walk in between the main building. And so it's a covered shed type of walkway right now with air flowing through, so we want to address that. It needs some functional updates. That connection's on here, the accessibility and safety features. Make sure it's all ADA compliant, meeting current regulations as they have changed over the years, and then also some safety features for the pool. I'll mention this pool is 4 feet deep at the shallow end and 7 feet deep at the deeper end. And so obviously we're going to be having kids in the area. We want to make sure there's some safe entrance, and looking overall we're having a safe operation. And then finally I'll add, we want this to, obviously it's got a definite purpose for swim lessons, water aerobics, lap swimming and exercise, but I also want to make it fun. I know my kids love going to an indoor pool. There's some novelty about that. And so we want to add some recreational amenities, and that can be something simple as some basketball goals on the side of the pool, some common features, or maybe like you call them lily pads to where you can climb up on. So we're exploring some options to make sure we have some recreational features so it is a multi-purpose pool. Now heading outdoors to look at the outdoor pool, which you see over here on the right-hand side, currently not holding water and not been in operation nearing 3 years now. And so we also had an assessment on what would it take. Let's just say we wanted to keep this pool, turn the hose on, let's fill it up and make the adjustments. It would be approximately $800,000 it would need a complete new mechanical system. Once again, that's pumps and chemicals, electrical and safety updates as well, and making sure it meets the new state requirements. Additional accessories that would be needed would be updates to the fencings. As you can tell, the shade structures are no longer, there's no furnishing. And one thing I wanted to point out that came in that assessment from KI and Councilman Hunsaker was that the current layout really does not reflect safety and design standards, how it looks. You know, it's a concrete slab here, but once again, you have those sharp edges. There's no gradual entry. And so that's one thing that really stands out to us is how this is all going to flow and work. But then also, if you have a parent that may be reading a book in the kids' room, we don't want a kid flipping off the side and going to a 3 to 4 foot drop. So a lot of times you see those zero depth entry style pools now to where it's a gradual entry. But we still wanted to go ahead and proceed to look at this option. This mimics what we're seeing on the indoor pool of a cost up to $900,000 initial estimate. And I will say, to clarify, while we do have the money allocated on the indoor, we do not have any funds allocated currently for the outdoor aquatic area. So that is above and beyond. We've put in a capital request, and that's what we wanted to talk to you about today.
And we don't have it because we were waiting on the information, right?
Correct. Correct. We knew we needed to establish the building and program to get activity there. Secondary, swim lessons, and this is obviously the bigger challenge because as we're going to see in the next couple slides, if we look at some different options, there's also some impact to how the outdoor area lays out. So our first, or really second one, you can keep it as is. Second option, we call our splash park option. And I want to clarify, as you look around our city, we have a lot of popular splash pads. And all of our splash pads in our parks, we have, I believe, 6, 7 total now. They're nearing 15, 20 years old. And so technology and just design and themes have really grown. So definitely a step above that. But this will be a splash park option to where we remove the current pool and fill the area and create a playground and splash park area. And this is, seasonal. When it's get warm weather, you have the splash park on, possibly a playground next to it. But this would not require staffing. Our current playgrounds, our splash parks and our parks do not have staffing. At most, you can fit to 200 to 300 people, and we feel this could exist in the current layout. And also, it would not require a replacement or a relocation of the outdoor restrooms. Currently, right now, if you're going to do a facility of this, you are looking in the range of $3 million. Give you an idea of some of the pictures. I have a zoom-in picture of a facility. A lot of tumble buckets are now come in, and you'll see some slides. These are on the flat surface, which we see in our parks now. In that middle picture, you get an idea of the general layout. To create a more aquatic feel, you have the lounge chairs and just multiple splash features spread throughout. And then on the right-hand side, we have just a draft of how some things can lay out. Now, the black outline does go over the red building, which is a restroom in this, is the consultants were just sort of working out. But based on square footage, we would be able to fit this into the concrete area in the middle of the restrooms and the indoor pool to where we wouldn't have to make a dramatic adjustment to the layout. Next up, we have our aquatic playground and playscape option, and just sort of climbing the ladder here. Once again, we would fill in the outdoor pool and create an aquatic playground and playscape. Some of these, and you'll see in some pictures on the next slide, you do have a water base to give you more of that swimming feel to where you'll have approximately 12 inches of water to where parents can go and sit with their kids, small kids can splash around. But what you see here is a lot more of an interactive structure to where, it's just taking that fun up another notch. A little bigger of a footprint with a 300 to 400 capacity. We do feel we'd be able to utilize the current layout, saving some costs there, but there could be some impact of the outdoor areas just looking at the overall layout. But that's something as we would work out the details if we were to go this direction, that we would definitely look at. The cost here is you step up. We estimate approximately a $5 million cost. And one thing that's exciting about this option is an opportunity for customization. If you're looking at splash pad areas, sure, we can call up and go the catalog route. Some great designs and great companies that'll be here and ready to go. But I don't want to sell it short on some opportunity here. And one thing that comes to my mind, this is, we've got the Doris Miller Memorial in downtown along the river now, and the Doris Miller Community Center. And as we're talking aquatics, obviously you start thinking of that water theme. And I just think if you look at an option like this to where you did something very interactive of how cool would it be, maybe you have a replica of a Navy ship with some shooting water cannons or a play structure that plays off that naval theme. So not only we're able to have a recreational area, but it's also an educational and an interpretive experience for kids. And so with this option, I sort of see that. I love the park down on the bottom left. With the blue and green, that's a park in San Antonio, that it's an inclusive playground area with the padded crumb rubber and all accessible playground, but then it's next to a splash pad area, and then up at the top right you got a great one, a popular one up in Flower Mound. But what you see is a lot of those slides, tumble buckets, and you're just getting a little bigger, a little more interactive. But I know the water on the having some holding water, what that does is trigger a little more operational oversight. Some staffing would likely be required, some overview from the lifeguards, but we're already having staffing at the indoor pool. And then the bottom picture shows you a little bit of a layout. And we'd have to come to terms on what layout works best for us, because obviously the outdoor restrooms are a good amenity. Finally, I want to look at an outdoor area if we were to go all the way and say, hey, you know what, let's scrap the outdoor pool and let's create a recreational pool complex. And this will be a full-scale aquatic facility, much like the city invested in when we initially built Waco Water Park, where you had an outdoor pool with amenities. It would be a full-on staffing requirement with operational, only available seasonal during the summer months. That capacity for the size of layout we have would really still be about the same as an aquatic playground. But one of the bigger changes is it would require alterations to our facility layout and then also the sports fields and how that lays out. These types of pools right now will go up in the $8 million range. To give you a view of that, where you have just a layout to where you do have a swim recreational pool, but you get a little more height on the slides coming down. I'm not sure on the bottom left-hand corner, it does show a lap pool with a zero depth entry. We have the indoor lap pool, so would we want 2 lap pools? I'm not sure. I think we would want something more family friendly, perhaps with a small lazy river. That's all the designers would definitely help us with that if we wanted to go this direction. But it does take that layout and overlay it on the right-hand side to show that it does get over. If you're going to go and want to do the larger slides, you're going to have to get into that football or baseball field area. And that's something that we just want to discuss and say how much of a priority do we want to put on the aquatics at this location as opposed to other recreational amenities that we have. So to summarize, really the same information here, and I just want to say on the splash part option, it would complement our indoor pool and fit in a layout. We would struggle on how do we accommodate a playground? Do we get side by side, but when we do a playground, aquatic playground option, that's where we're looking at a more overhead cost. But that aquatic playground playscape area does provide an opportunity for creativity and that customization. Combination to where we can have both aquatic and recreational functioning at the same time. And that's from a staff and really from an operational perspective. I think that's a solid way to consider and one that I'd really encourage everyone to give some thought to. Not only the creativity, but from the operational. If we can knock out both aquatic and recreational in the same time, we need to consider that one, or it'd be a good idea to. And then finally, we have the recreational pool option. That's where we're servicing not just the neighborhood, not just the downtown, but a community scale facility to where people want to come and visit and will come from all over. But there is that impact, the more you build, the more it's going to involve staffing and operational costs. And definitely pools, those type of things accompany these. You have to make them safe and you have to make sure they're functioning at the right capacity. So with that said, that wraps up the presentation today, and happy to get any feedback on any of these options, any of the options, or any of the interior renovations as well.
Go ahead, John.
Thanks so much, Jonathan, for this presentation, all your good work and your department's work in renovating this facility. I will say I appreciate as I've said before, up here on the dais, that I appreciate that we're committing to the indoor pool. And I would definitely say that would be my highest priority, is making sure that that is safe and secure and able to host groups and events and swimming. I mean, I know that we're looking at different options. I think a splash park complementing an indoor pool would be great. Whatever fits within the cost and the priorities of this council, but I think sequencing wise, for sure, focusing on knocking out the indoor pool because there's so few of those. And I definitely am on board with one of these options in terms of an outdoor water feature, for sure. In terms of whether it's the maxed out recreational pool or the splash park, that may be a matter for city budgeting as we go forward, but grateful for all the good work you're doing in rehabbing this, for sure.
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. Always a great presentation from you. I know you're doing a lot of work on parks throughout the city, Floyd Casey, China Spring, Lions Park, all over the place. This one seems to be going pretty well. Tell me on the basic, I'll call it, the 900,000 to the pool. Is it even operational right now? It's not, I've not been over
Outdoor?
there. Yeah, the outdoor. Is it operational right now?
The outdoor or the indoor?
Outdoor.
Outdoor is not operational.
So 900,000 would at least get it back to where the community can
Yeah,
use it.
and it's an onion. Obviously, all the piping, it survived a couple freezes, and 3 years without operating. So you know what can happen as ground is shifted with the drought. There is a concern of we might not realize once we start digging up and busting concrete and working on the pipes, what we might find and discover. But on one hand, you're completely changing out the engine. Not trying to fix it. So, but right now, you're not gonna get it to hold water and fill water, so it would be a redo, and it's not operational at this point.
But the 900 is just a guess, peeling out the outside layer.
Sure, that's from the assessment that we've gotten saying, hey, you know, you're gonna pour about 900,000 to get it. Same configuration, but to replace the pumps, piping, you're gonna have to replace the spray features, shade structures and furnishings. It's gonna push up.
But also I guess the actual, bowl or, whatever the
Yeah.
cracks and stuff.
Yeah, you're gonna have to have repairs on that as well.
Okay. Then, yeah, I agree with Josh that Mayor Pro Tem Bordery there, that splash park would be kind of nice and complimentary. But I know that we at least, I think, need to get the thing operational, it seems.
Yeah.
And, the outdoor one, but then I don't want to spend $1 million, when I could have spent $3 million and have the splash park. I don't know, that's where we have to figure out what fits, and I'll go back to what Josh was saying too. I mean, we just in today's meeting alone, we're talking about Lions Park, the Riverwalk Garage and Pavilion, Zoo, and some liquidity, funding issues. I mean, we've managed to do a lot of things, pretty ambitious council here and city management, and we're figuring out how to make all these things fit. I like that we're getting this project back online, but somewhere between that basic 900,000 of the aquatic, whatever we're calling that one, you didn't put that one in the options, did you? The basic 100.
Not on the final slide, we did not.
You were shooting much higher.
Yeah.
You did. You're making $1 million look like nothing here.
Not a and I want to add another step in our scope of work with our KI design firm, and we haven't got to yet, is some community engagement. To really see what our community would like to see.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to weigh that in, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are gonna be using the facility. So it's not just from the aquatic standpoint, but also some indoor programming as well, to make sure that we're meeting needs of people who have been without this facility for almost 2.5 years now.
Yeah.
And so I know a lot of our neighborhoods are ready to get back, kids are ready to get back, and a lot of that comes from our staff as well, giving their input of knowing those latest trends in the recreation industry.
Okay, thanks.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I like the idea of fixing the indoor pool. We just don't have a lot of, I don't think, indoor pools that are, I like that. Obviously, I don't like the impact in sports fields. We don't have enough baseball and football fields in the city of Waco. We have played there, and it's a nice field. So, I would hate to take something away from the quality of life of all the citizens, not just in Waco, but the teams that come down and we have to go play over here because there's not enough fields over here, so we gotta go over here to play. I would hate to take that opportunity away from East Waco, that we can't have a sports field there that we can go to and have people come from all over the state to play there, because we have done that. So obviously for me, that last one is out for me. I do like the idea of a splash pad. We have one at Kendrick Park, but it's a smaller one. It doesn't have a playground area. But I like the idea of families going and enjoying the splash park and not be just scared to death of my kids might drown or might slip and fall in the pool, outdoor pool area. That's, I mean, it's up to, I will go along with the council, but I won't go along with the tearing down the sports fields. Whatever And of course, Ms. Barfield is the council member of that area. But anytime we put something up for our kids to play in, that's a big plus for the city and a big plus for the community. So, I'll just listen to what, the rest of the council has to say on this, but absolutely no way for me on the, and impacting the sports.
Sure. Understand, thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. I appreciate this update. I think that I mean, the you understood is that the indoor pool is happening. We have already, you know, got our council swim trunks ready for water aerobics, and we are ready for the indoor pool.
I can't swim, I'm scared.
See? So there's your first swim lesson right here. Now, regarding the outdoor pool or outdoor water area, aquatic feature area, this is an interesting problem to have. I think that I agree that the splash pads that we have throughout the community are, I mean, I'm sure with it being 90 yesterday, if y'all had turned them on, they were being used, because it was, you know.
Well, they're not on, we did get several calls.
Listen.
We got several calls,
I mean,
yeah.
so there's that, and that's the thing. I think that for me, if I had to choose one, I would choose the aquatic playground playscape for multiple reasons. One, because it is a community facility and there does need to be some sort of playscape for our children that it does not involve water. And I think that this could potentially do that. I know that of all the, you know, at Bledsoe Miller, there is a playground, you know, at the community centers, there are playgrounds. And so I don't want Doris Miller to abandon having some sort of option for our kids and families that doesn't necessarily involve water. So I think that would give us the best of both worlds, because it would allow an open space, you know, for parents and families to sit and watch their children play and frolic and all of that without disturbing our fields. I mean, I've mentioned several times, because it's 8 acres, right? Isn't it right? Mm-hmm. A play field. And I mean, we've finally gotten that to a point where it's safe and a good field to participate, and rec sports will have just another avenue to increase the bandwidth and capability of recreational sports. You know, as I have said, I want everything from football to soccer to lacrosse to rugby, you know, whatever. I want it all out there, and I think that we can do all of that with a middle ground. Okay. I think that the splash park is fine. I mean, if it comes down to the numbers, we just gonna make it work with whatever the numbers are, because these aren't small numbers. Yeah. And you know, we're not lost on the fact that we're talking about millions of dollars here. I was laughing, Councilmember Holmes, you were talking about we just gonna glaze over that 1 million. But I don't think it makes any sense, because I mean, it's antiquated, it's out of date, it's not the safest model that we have currently, because it was created 20 years ago. Yeah. And so, I mean, I think that yes, it is an option, but no, not really. Because it's not, I think it's something that we would have to be dealing with at a higher price point than if we just did it a different way. I look forward to what is I agree with you, Councilmember. I don't personally believe that we need a full outside pool at that facility. I think that with the indoor pool, with training, I mean, because we've got a lot of work to do in training. I mean, with the increase in rowing that's happening in our community, with the access to do swim lessons for the young people and adults in our community who want to participate in the rowing platform. I mean, I think we can do all of that without necessarily having to do both. I don't want to, I mean, while we're trying to make sure we have aquatic options in our community center that are at, you know, no cost or low cost for our people, I don't want to take away from the fact that we do own a whole facility right around the corner in District 1 that does just that. I mean, so there still is an opportunity for people to play and swim and things outside around the corner at Hawaiian Falls. But I do want them to be able to, at low, no cost, have some sort of aquatic fun, but I don't know that we need a full-scale recreational pool option with our facility just around the corner. But thank you for this. I look forward to this. The Flying W in the gym is bomb. I mean, it's
Yes.
beautiful. And I'm really excited about the opportunities that will be available to our community center leaders, the programmatic opportunities that there are. I mean, I think that the possibilities are endless, and then we transition in Bledsoe Miller with STEAM and all of those things, and I think it just adds and adds and adds to what we're able to have as programmatic options for our communities, our residents, and our young people. So I'm super excited.
Great input, thank you.
Jonathan, I agree with what's been said. Great presentation. Again, I think that some real needs in our community. It's really hot in the summers in Waco. And so having swimming and water options and features for families is really critical and really important. I like what's been said about going to the community and really evaluating what their needs are. I'm of the opinion that, obviously we'd love to snap our fingers and get the right thing done immediately, but as we hear from the community, and no one knows their community better than the council members that they represent, so we'll defer to Councilmember Bearfield, and what your community feedback is, and if we need to, hear from the community, and if some members are saying we really want one of these options, but it's not budgeted, and so we need to push pause to get the right thing for one more year, and we wait to get the money in the budget. I mean, obviously I'd rather go quicker, but let's get the right thing for this community. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think we need an outdoor pool in Waco, Texas, because American families deserve to go sit in an outdoor pool, but I agree that the prioritization of an indoor pool is excellent because it's working, or will be. And again, if the community is in favor of, and council members that represent the district are in favor of one of the other options, that sounds great. But I do think we need to continue as a community to evaluate the pros and cons. And I tend to be on the pro side of having outdoor or an outdoor pool that families can enjoy in our community. We kind of are in a pool desert. And it's a really important thing, I think, for families to be able to have that for a lot of reasons. Safety, one, but just to recreate in the summertime. It is hard to go to parks when it's 112 degrees outside.
I mean, I hate the societal shift when pools closed. I mean, I understand municipalities got into liability issues, but I mean, it's not like they weren't plentiful, because, DuConte Park, we had an outdoor pool,
Yep.
and I mean, all kinds of things. But, but I hear you, Mayor, and I appreciate you saying that.
There's pros and cons, and I think that liability and cost and upkeep and monitoring like that, there's pros and cons to it, but I think it's something that we continue to monitor as we look at other opportunities in the community. But for this one, again, I love that you're going to have some community outreach, hear from the community on what they want, and then we can come back together and say, okay, what's the right thing? How do we fund it? When do we do it from a staff time perspective and from a money perspective? And how do we make this a first-in-class space for this community? But great options on the table. Really excited to see this through. And I'm really just thankful for our residents to be able to have these kind of first-in-class facilities that they'll be able to take advantage of. So thanks for the presentation today.
Well, thank y'all for the opportunity, appreciate it.
All right, council, we've got one more work session. I'm going to call in our closer.
The closer.
There it is.
So our closer, the greatest closer of all time in baseball was
Music to go with this?
I'm getting there. Mariano Rivera, I would argue, and he had great walk-up music. And Deidre just walked down so fast I couldn't put it on. Inner Sandman, that was his song.
I appreciate closer and not fixer. I think that's,
Yeah,
that's.
Deidre's the closer. She also has to sometimes be the fixer for me. But no, we're going to hear from Deidre Emerson, our Deputy City Manager, here for a few minutes on work session 228, which is a discussion and update of our proposed STEAM Center at Bledsoe Miller Community Center. And I know Deidre's put time and effort in this project for a couple years now, and we're excited to give a project update and get some feedback from you on operating model here towards the end of the presentation. So, Deidre?
Thanks, Brantley. Mayor and Council, I just thought it was fitting for us, as you were hearing an update on the new Doris Miller Community Center, that we would provide you with an update on the STEAM Center and where we are with that. Just as a brief reminder, I'll talk a little bit about what is STEAM, the benefits of the facility and within our community, and specifically this location, proposed uses, the steering committee members that we have invited and asked to participate and serve with us, as well as some operational options that I would like to hear some of your feedback on before we move forward with that, and then our next steps. And so as some of you may know, the STEAM activities provide our community and students the ability to teach soft skills needed in all careers, such as creativity, problem solving, critical thinking, gathering evidence, and other types of data. According to labor projections for the state of Texas, Texas is expected to have the second highest percentage of the nation's future STEM job opportunities. This chart by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics shows the average percentage annual STEM job openings through 2028. And as we see, 65% of those jobs evolve around computing. In talking to our chamber representatives, they have told us that the STEAM jobs account for 25% of the Waco MSA labor force. More than 29,000 people in the Waco MSA are employed in STEAM occupations, and that's growing. STEAM or STEM in the future is the future work, whether it's a factory job or a warehouse or a hospital. The skills that are learned in this environment are nearly transferable to any industry. In April 2021, Pew Research reported that women make up a quarter or fewer of workers in computing and engineering and are overrepresented in health-related jobs. Hispanic and Black workers continue to be underrepresented in the STEM workforce, while white and Asian workers are overrepresented. And I really thought that was fitting, a statistic to share with you all today, just based on the location for this facility and where it sits in regards to a couple of the school districts that bound us, which would be Waco ISD as well as La Vega ISD. And so as you heard from Jonathan, they are doing great work in preparing a transition from this location at the Bledsoe Miller to what will be the new Doris Miller Community Center on the Quinn campus. So this facility has 14,000 square feet, sits on the Brazos River, and has an adjoining park, which makes it even more exciting that we would see a STEAM or STEM facility sit there that would serve our community as a whole. The renovated facility is expected to serve as a STEM center hub. I mean, we've had many conversations with many stakeholders, and you'll see that in some of our, on the stakeholder committee, because we've asked those folks to walk alongside us as we do this work. But it'll also be available for classrooms, for seminars and workshops, and provide exhibit space, as well as an outdoor exhibit area. And so here are the proposed steering committee members. We've have invited them, and we've received responses from them. Some of them have provided letters of support for us as we have sought for additional funding from our lobbyists as well as our legislative representatives. One of the entities that not listed is Region 12, and I'm proud to say that I had a really good conversation with Jerry Mays and his team. They do a lot of lead out in a lot of the STEM work for our regionally within our area, and are excited to collaborate with us as we move forward with this STEAM center. Here's a sampling of the things. So this work isn't new to us. I mean, our departments, kudos to Parks and Library and Public Works for all the work that they have done individually. What we're looking to do is bring those individual works into a collective space with the STEAM Center. So the city has, and so we want to talk a little bit about our funding commitments, and the city has allocated $6.25 through our ARPA dollars for renovation of the Bledsoe Miller Community Center, as well as Baylor has committed $500,000 to this work. The funding and the work that would happen at this facility would be work. This Bledsoe Miller is the only community center that has not gone through a renovation process like our other community centers. So moving the work of creating it or transforming it into a STEAM center just enhances the fact that there was, whether it stayed as Bledsoe or not, there was work that would need to happen at this facility. So here is where I really want to hear a little bit of feedback from you all. I'm beginning to kind of do some research around operational models and thinking about what's best for our community, what will work well for us. It's whether it's a city-operated facility or we contract with an outside entity. I have had conversations with other communities. I plan to have more conversations with other entities on who have done this work before and what does that look like and what were the pros and cons. But before we get too deep, if there's some preferences from this body, I'd like to hear that, so I include that in my thought process as I bring you back a formal recommendation.
Any thoughts, comments, or questions?
On this particular page, the operational model?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out how this would exactly work or what functions the city would run, say, or I have a proclivity of outsourcing things that people who do it every day know how to do it, turnkey, pay them to do it, rather than trying to figure out how to do it with current resources. And that's just always my immediate reaction. Get somebody that knows how to do it and hit the ground running. So if that's the feedback you're looking for, that's what I would say, not knowing how deep this is, because I don't know exactly, maybe this city oversees some function of a third-party STEM
So there's a
operation.
couple of scenarios that could work with. So if it's a city operated, then it's our deal, and we're running it, we're doing it the day-to-day. The other part of that is it could still be a city operated, but we've contracted services out. The other way, and there's some things that we need to look at and understand around the funding of the Bledsoe Miller Community Center before we get deep into contracting with an outside entity, because we want to make sure that we have not, that we don't put ourselves in a position where we need to repay something. So we want to make sure that we do that. But there's that option of just contracting with somebody else. This is our vision, you go do it. There's pros and cons to that, and I want to make sure that I explore those and provide you all with the real detail on what those pros and cons look like.
And like you said, Deputy City Manager Emerson, there might be a hybrid where the city does kind of oversee the primary functions, but you have, and I don't even know if this exists, I'm just thinking out loud here. Is there a professional STEAM servicing platform out there that you can call? I mean,
I'm looking
Yellow
for it.
Pages test? They used to call it the Yellow Pages test. They don't call it that anymore. You can find it in the Yellow Pages, call them up and have them do it for you rather than trying to figure out how to do it yourself. But I imagine you'll come to us and try to come up with a couple different models. And
that's right.
But that's just the other part of this is fantastic. The vision and this coming to reality is pretty exciting. I appreciate your energy behind it.
I lean toward the outsourcing model and maybe having a governing board that would include the major stakeholders, i.e. the people putting up the money. And they would hire, to me, this is an educational type operation, so you would hire, it seems to me you would hire people that were in the business of education, maybe, I don't know, but to have the city being totally responsible for staffing and curriculum and all that, I think that would be a pretty big step for us to take.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Deputy City Manager Emerson, for walking this journey with me. This is kind of my baby, I guess. I thought how important it would be, just from a haphazard experience in my own life. watching my son get to experience hip hop architecture at a camp. And it was done at a Dallas community center. And I was like, well, I mean, we have community centers and we have so many amazing industry partners right here in our neighborhood. It doesn't make sense to not open up this kind of opportunity for our next generation of STEAM leaders. I think that to answer you, Councilmember Holmes and Councilmember Horner, we've kind of looked at as many options as possible, from visiting with contracted facilitators who do this all the time, looking at studying cities who have STEAM technology programs within their city. More than, I'm sure ours will be some sort of hybrid version of that, because it is a big, huge undertaking to have a full staff that does this curriculum and does this programming and does this maintenance and upkeep and maintaining this facility. So I'm sure it'll kind of end up being both, because what I hope is that the ability to grow into whatever it needs to be, including as a resource and tool for our educational partners who are walking with us with this, it will be available to do so. Regarding staffing, I mean, one of the beautiful things about us being in the community that was at one time Athens on the Brazos is we have a metric ton of students who need to work and who need to do internships that are education-based, leaning towards the STEM fields. So I think, and being as our partners are those higher educational institutions, they want to see that relationship and development and collaborative partnership with their students, with their instructors, with this STEAM center. So I'm hopeful that that will be a big part of filling our needs. I mean, as they have said so. I'm looking forward to that, but somebody specifically to drive the ship is what's going to be most important, in making sure that we do that the correct way. This is new, so we're going to have to figure it out, I think. I think that with Deputy City Manager Emerson and the staff that she's working with on this, I think they're going to make, I mean, amazing decisions that will do this in a nimble way, because I mean, if something doesn't work, we pivot and we shift. But I think that they will have the ability to do so in a way, and because of our more than competent park staff and city staff and the library. I mean, so many of our our departments have already been doing this work. I mean, I imagine the Public Works is chomping at the bit, because these are their future staff. I mean, these are the people who will go and be the Public Works leaders, and all kinds of IT. I mean, I'm sure that it's all, everyone's waiting on this opportunity to show their chops interdepartmentally, because what all are all the measures that we function as a city in STEM technology? And this is just an opportunity for us to say, oh, look at us. Not only bringing, keeping your city moving and doing these things, but bringing our future generation alongside to do it. So it's been a long time coming, as Sam Cooke would say. But I think that we are finally at a place where, because we've transitioned and are working, have the transition plan from Bledsoe Miller Community Center to the Miller Community Center, now we can really start looking at what this feels like. It is now tangible in our hands, because we're about to begin this work. I'm sorry I'm long-winded, but I'm incredibly passionate about this, because it offers so many opportunities for so many people in this city. And I mean, I don't know if you want to scroll back to the list of the advisory council. I mean, this is some big stuff. These are our heavy hitters. And I mean, when you have commitment from SpaceX, when you have commitment from Mars Wrigley, I mean, literally, the North American president of Mars Wrigley has come down to look at the facility because he wants to be that involved.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yes.
That's huge on us. That's huge on our staff. That's huge. So, I'm ready to do whatever I need to do, because I'm interconnected personally to it, and I mean, I think it's just be another crown jewel in District 1. But, I'm just super excited and especially grateful. I think that more than likely it'll be a hybrid that will work in this way, but we want to make sure that it is not burdensome to our staff and to our city's budget. I mean, we're doing it intentionally. Yeah, we dream big and in color, but we're not foolish. And our role and responsibility is to be good stewards over these dollars. So I think that probably in the next few months, I mean, whatever your next steps are, you know, we'll kind of look at some more cities that are doing it, and then because we've been dealing with organizations that do this and they're turnkey on projects, and so we'll just kind of figure out what works best for us. Thank you.
So thank you for that feedback on this piece. My next steps are, unspecifically to this, will be in the next couple of months. You'll see me come back and present you with the different versions, as well as what the financial impacts look like on those operations, because we want to make sure that we have that in preparation for the likely the next budget cycle. So we want to make sure that we have that in place. And so overall, here's my anticipated schedule. We are planning to have a meeting with our selected steering committee in preparation. And some of you may be aware that last June, we visited with the Navy, and they have, as a result of that visit with Sessions, they've asked to come down and do a visit with us, and they would like to tour all of the facilities that have Doris Miller's name attached to it. So we're planning that coordination of that visit with them, working with our internal facilities team to do a facility assessment. As I mentioned earlier, Bledsoe Miller is the only community center that has not had any renovations to it. So we want to make sure that what we do is appropriate for this facility, and that, well, as we go into the facility design, that we've thought about what are the big things. We don't want to get in there and then discover there's way more than what we can actually handle. The beauty of this is that it's a community center with a gym. And so what we know is that we are not looking to do major tear down, that we are looking to utilize the space as best we have it and renovate what's there, but not necessarily do a lot of building up new walls, because that's for STEAM or STEM, they need the active space. They need the open active space. And so we want to make sure that we are doing that in conjunction with some of the preliminary design that we've seen. I'll bring back some operational models so we can finalize that, and then we'll get into the bidding process and the construction process. And we anticipate being in a position that for the school year that starts August of 2024, that we would have some real high-level activity happening in that facility. I'm gravely concerned about the transition from Bledsoe as a community center to becoming a STEAM center. I am concerned about dark days in that facility, and really want to make sure that we are activating somehow, some way. So you may see us still have some level of activity in there before the construction piece is totally done. So just don't want to see us have a vacant facility.
Deidre, I just want to say I'm hearing a lot of things I didn't know anything about.
Okay.
And I appreciate you bringing them forward. And I know you've worked with her, but I have not. I don't really know what is expected of me as a council member to look at all this. But I'm looking forward to your report in the coming months. And maybe before then, I can find out and research myself on what you're talking about here. But I'm hearing a lot of new things that I hadn't heard before. But it sounds like it's an educational program?
Yes, ma'am. I'm glad to sit down with you and walk through what we've gone through on this one, for sure.
I would be glad to. Like I said, I'm just now, and it takes me a while to absorb all this information, which is new to me.
Mm-hmm.
I know we've talked about the STEM, but not actually saying, hey, this is what we want. So I look forward to your coming report.
Sure. Thank you.
I'll just add, Deidre, thank you so much. As our deputy city manager, taking the lead on the STEAM Center, this looks to be a great asset for our community and a model of partnerships. I was excited to see, as the son of two veterans of the Navy, we got a Navy meeting coming up, and Lord knows the STEAM, especially the STEM component, is very big to the Department of the Navy. But and I know she's too shy to say it, but our council member from District 1 has done a great job with this too, and it looks to be a real asset, as I said. So grateful for both of y'all in leading out on this. It looks just a great creative municipal program that'll benefit our children and our workforce. So thank you.
Thank you. It's going to be a great project. Look forward to hearing what your research reveals and know that we're going to move forward in a positive direction.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I may, I apologize, I should have mentioned this earlier. On Resolution 2023-251, that will need to be pulled from the agenda as there is special motion language which I'll pass out to y'all's places that needs to be read should council choose to approve that item.
Very good.
51.
One.
Are there any requests for future agenda items? If not, we will recess the work session and reconvene regular session for executive session as read into the city secretary at 5:15 p.m. Right when Bradley called it would be.
Mayor, we're not going to have an executive session.
Oh, very good. So we will just adjourn. I retract that. We will adjourn at 5:15 and we will reconvene after our adjournment at 6 p.m.